Welcome, everyone. This is Drayton Boylston from the Executive Coaching University, and I'm here with my pal, Gary Henson.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the call today.
And we're excited to have everyone here. This is the Coaching Crucible is gaining a lot of steam, and we've gotten some great comments from folks. And Gary and I have a request as we start this program today. We're going to be going for an hour here, and our request is that all of you, raise your hand when we open up the mics, that we get some interaction. We are here to be of service to all of you. And therefore, we want to make sure that we're listening to you. We're not just talking about the things that Gary and I want to talk about. They may be a little different than what you need, and we're here to fill that need. So if you have any questions, if you have any observations, anything, please, let's make this a village. Let's make this interactive and learn from each other, because what Gary and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt is that our collective wisdom is so much greater than just our two noggins going together. Would you agree with that, Gary?
I certainly would. So we want to encourage people to be available, and there's a lot of people coming on the call right now, Drayton, and more on their way. So just be listening for our prompt for when it's time. We want you to jump in, and if it's a question or a comment that you want to make, we want to get your input. This is not the Drayton and Gary show. It's the Coaching Crucible call that includes everyone. So we want everyone to participate and give their input and feedback. And I'll speak for Drayton. He and I are both willing to learn along with everyone else. So we're not just here to teach. We're here to learn and create a provocative conversation for everyone.
Yeah, I'll just echo that tenfold, folks. We want to hear from you, and it really leads into the conversation that Gary and I were chatting about, or the topic that we wanted to start off with today in terms of success and lack thereof in the coaching industry. I heard some statistics last week, and it was talking about the bell curve of coaching, and it was talking about how many coaches truly succeed, and it's in the range of 5 to 10%. That's it, 5 to 10%. So Gary and I hear things like this, and it quite frankly brings us to tears, because we know what's going on out there in the world, and we know so many people need coaching, and we know that we don't have enough good coaches to fill those needs. And when you see what's going on everywhere in the workplace, it's harrowing. And we flat out have to do something about it. So Gary and I wanted to chat about this and get your thoughts in terms of what's happening, what do we need to do to address these things. And so many people go to the making money place and all that and try to sell you the snake oil, and we want to move beyond that in terms of what do people need and what can we do to help people become more successful. And there's not a silver bullet, as we've discussed before. So, Gary, let's start off with this and just see where this goes and are they successful or not?
Good. Are you suggesting you're going to get feedback now from people?
Yeah. Why don't you? I know you and I were chatting about some of the things that come to mind for you. Why don't we go down that path? And then, folks, if you would just raise your hands, just use the system that you have before you, and raise your hands. Any comments, observations? Just tell us where you are. And if you want to be anonymous, that's fine too. Just say, hey, this is where I am. I thought I'd be more successful. I've been at this for 4 years, and I'm just breaking even, or I'm not making as much as I wanted to. Here's some of my challenges. And let's just get the discussion going. So, Gary, why don't you start us off?
Okay, great. So here's something that I recently discovered, Drayton, and it took other people to coach me to get this. And I'm going to say this by way of a confession. So any of the people that are in my tribe, in the businesscoach.com tribe that are on this call, or anybody that I've impacted or affected, or you've read any of my emails, I'm going to start off with a confession and say I've recently came up with 9 different steps that people ought to take, Drayton, to get into the coaching business, the coaching industry, coaching as in building a practice. And if you'll allow me the time, I'll just briefly go through these, and then I think it might be good for people to, for you to read some of the comments that we have, and maybe get back to some of the, to the people that maybe want to make a comment.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Gary. Let's do it.
Okay, good. So here's what I would have shared with my people earlier, that people that I've trained and worked with in this last 25 years. These 9 different steps are things that I think one should consider before going into a full-time coaching practice. And it makes no difference what your coaching practice is. You could be coaching people how to ride Brahma bulls in Europe. And if you're going to start a practice, here's what I see. Number 1, you need to make a commitment to whatever it is you're going to do. Whether it's coaching or anything else, you should have some level of commitment that this is what you want to do, and that you're moving forward, and you're not going to get to the first bump in the road or the second bump in the road and turn back. Number 2, have a plan. You should have a plan or a course of action that you're going to take as you move forward with your commitment to be a coach of any kind. What is your plan? What are the steps you're going to take? Number 3, choose a methodology and study that methodology. One of the things, Drayton, I've learned, and we've heard on these calls in the past, is people have got, this is the methodology, and then they found a better one, and then they found another one, and they didn't finish the first 2, but they've already on to number 3, and then they come to you and I, and they think, oh, wow, I've spent all my money, now I can't afford any more, but I think you guys have maybe the right methodology. So do some investigation, choose a methodology, stick with that methodology, and study it so you know it well. Number 4, get your marketing plan in place. Do some sort of plan. Where are you going to get clients from? Where are you going to go to find clients? How will they find you? What is your marketing plan? Number 5, get an accountability partner. Number 5, get an accountability partner. Number 5, get an accountability partner. Have someone hold you accountable to stay on the path for steps 1 through 4 and 6 through 9. Find someone that is your accountability partner, and have someone that is iron sharpens iron, somebody who's going to be tough with you, who's going to hold you accountable to the steps that you say you're going to do in your methodology, in your marketing plan, and in your overall plan for where you're going to go. Number 6, start coaching part-time first. So here's my big confession, Drayton. I haven't talked to you about this before, but I've always told people, jump in the pool. The water's fine. Whatever temperature it is, you'll figure it out. And that I realize that that's a character flaw of mine, because when I do something, I jump in all together. I didn't start coaching part-time. I started full-time. And I think there's a space for certain people, before you leave your $150,000 income with all the benefits and vacation pay and paid for car and health plan, maybe for some of us, maybe most of us, we should start coaching part-time and make sure it's for us. And I don't mean be wimpy coaching for free. I'm just saying start building your practice part-time and see where that takes you and see what that looks like for you. And make sure that you're really, really committed to being a coach. Number 7, learn how to work with clients. After you get part-time in there, find out what it's like to work with clients. Have a level of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months of working with clients so you know what that feels like, you know what their complaints are. Once you get your second and third client, you're going to find you're going to see some repetitive nature in client number 2 and number 3, and you're going to see resistance to doing homework assignments or resistance to taking your coaching, etc. There's patterns there. Once you see the pattern in your second or third client, you're going to understand what that means. Number 8. Now I'm all the way up to number 8, Drayton, and I'm saying fill your practice. So before you go to coaching full-time, I'm saying maybe for some of us we want to fill the practice up. Not get 1 client or 2 clients and then go full-time, but maybe fill your practice up before you get to step number 9. And step number 9 is start coaching full-time. Now you're ready to leave your coaching, your full-time cushy job, and now you're ready to step out. Inside of here, I didn't say this, but somewhere inside of steps number 1 through 9 in your plan, in your marketing plan, etc., you need to learn that you're an entrepreneur now. So you understand by the time you're a full-time coach that you have gained knowledge and you have figured out how to make this a profitable entity, and you're now an entrepreneur by nature, if not in fact, and you're understanding entrepreneurialism and you understand what it's like to be an entrepreneur. Now, step number 9, you go to coaching full-time. By the way, before Drayton responds, he didn't know what I was going to say, so thank you, Drayton, for your confidence in allowing me to go through these different steps that I've recently put out there, and I'm going to put on our website here in a few days. And I just think it's important for people to hear this.
I think it's great information, and I hope everybody absorbed that, because that is that's that kind of discipline and thoughtfulness that people need to have when they approach our business. And I see so many people, Gary, that are out there kind of seat of the pants. They don't necessarily have a business plan, even if it's a 2 or 3 pager, and they're not approaching this as a business person should. And I love your number 5 about the accountability partner, the accountability partner, the accountability partner. There are so many coaches around, and I would venture a guess. I don't have any scientific data around this, but I would venture a guess that probably 90% of all the coaches in our industry don't have their own coach.
That's correct.
And it just boggles my mind. I've got at any one time at least 2 and usually 3. And Gary, I would guess the same holds true for you.
Yes, the same thing for me, yes.
And I've got one guy who busts my chops every time we get together, and that's exactly what I need. And that is so important that we have those accountability partners. And Gary, I'm going to bounce something off of you, and we've got some beautiful questions. We've already got, oh goodness, half a dozen questions and some raised hands, and for that we're grateful, and we're going to come to you in just a second. I'm going to throw out that there is one thing that is the most important, and you need to figure this out first thing in your business, and that is, who are you serving? Who is your ideal client? What are their points of pain, and how can you make those better? And I know for a fact you get that one thing figured out, and you can march through these other things, as Gary was alluding to, easily, because you're hyper-focused on serving that individual. You know their points of pain, and it could be points of pain that you experienced in your journey on this planet, and you know that you've helped yourself, and therefore you can bring that knowledge and experience to help other people. And when you get that figured out, it's this huge, oh my goodness, this is who I'm here to serve. These are their points of pain. I know because I felt them myself. And here's what I'm going to do to help them with their points of pain. So right there, you've figured out everything that you need to know around your marketing. And it's not the shotgun approach that so many people deploy and just anybody is a client of mine because I can help everybody. You want to go narrow and deep and become that thought leader in your particular space. And then the heavens open up when you do. So, Gary, we've got some questions here. Rhonda, I'm going to take you off mute because you have been so patient. You've had your hand up for a few minutes. Rhonda, you with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I can hear myself twice, which is could be doubly scary. What
Welcome,
can we help
Rhonda.
you with today?
Oh, I was just typing in what, basically I'm 2 classes away from finishing my year-long coaching program with Hilton Johnson, and it's been very intense, and I do have an accountability partner. We're both in the same boat. Neither one of us know what our niche is, and we've spent all this money and all this time, and now we're 2 classes away from finishing this part of it, and then we can go on to getting our certification. But we're like almost scared to death because we've gone through all this and we don't know who we are to serve.
Yeah, have they spent any time in your training going over that?
Well, yes, but I would say everybody in our class except for one person, they're in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And Rhonda, I think you hit on something that's pretty consistent across a lot of training organizations. They don't focus on this, most important thing. They
Yes.
may be teaching you a process, which is great, and teaching you these things that are so important in terms of the practical skills and applications. But first
Right.
and foremost, everybody has to make money.
Right.
We're here to be of service, but we always say you have to earn more in order to serve more.
Mm-hmm.
So this, and Rhonda, maybe it's a thing you get together with classmates and say, organize a time in their webinar system, or just do it yourself, where you guys can brainstorm around this.
We do have we do have a mastermind that started, and we have been brainstorming around it, but we've only met like 3 times, and we're stuck, basically.
Mm-hmm.
We're just stuck.
Well, may I give you a little exercise, Rhonda, that might help?
Sure.
It's an inventory exercise, and
Okay.
it's one that we use with our people in one of our mentor programs, and we take them through an inventory of your life journey.
Mm-hmm.
And think about all of the things, the teachers that have come into your world. And Rhonda, I'm going to put you on mute for just a second here. We're getting a little feedback. Think about all the teachers you've had. Think about the experiences that you've had, good, bad, and learning opportunities. Think about all that you've gained knowledge-wise in your journey. It could be you learned some things in business, you served these people in this capacity. Once you take inventory of everything, and we think every experience is a gift. So every gift you've been given along your life path, think about the people that could help. And bring that level of experience, and now from this place of servitude, it should shed a lot of light on who you should be serving. And so many people, Gary, I don't know if this is your experience or not, but so many people don't sit down and take the time to take inventory of everything they've learned in their lives, and they go off chasing another niche that is out of their sweet spot, when we have found that the sweet spot is going to reveal itself if you do the inventory of your journey.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And I would add a couple things, Drayton.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you want to, or if you're incomplete, if you want to go ahead, I'll add.
I'm good.
So the other thing is, Rhonda, I would take a look at what are you really passionate about, and that could be a very broad, it could be a very broad question. But if you narrowed it down, and you're really passionate about what, and who are the group of people that would want that, or want to be coached around that, or that you could bring that to the table. And then the other thing is that it's very counterintuitive to have your niche be very narrow and very deep. So, for example, when some coaches want to narrow their niche. I'm starting to say it like people. I have too many Australian friends and English friends. When they go to narrow down their niche, they say, okay, I'll just work with women, or I'll just work with women that do this. Well, how about women that are over the age of, or under the age of, that fit into a certain category, that are come from a certain place, that need a certain particular type of coaching? Now, you just cut 70-80% of all people out by dividing it into first women as opposed to men, and then start narrowing it down into age groups and so on and so forth. But if you promote yourself well, and if you get the word out that that's who you are, then that very narrow niche of people, when they find out that that's who you are, and that you serve them, they'll be the path down to your door. So just notice that it's very counterintuitive to narrow the niche down, and to make it smaller and smaller, and work with a particular group of people. But when you do, people, when they find you, and if you can put yourself out into social media and do various kinds of marketing and promotion, to get your name out there. When people find you, there'll be a door down to your, a pathway down to your door. For example, if people in martial arts, there's different types of martial arts, and people that are looking for people to teach them karate, as an example, is a niche inside of a niche inside of a niche. But when that's advertised, people are looking for that. They don't go to all the other martial arts and interview them. They go for that particular domain. So I hope I explained that well, Drayton. It was really clear in my head. I'm not sure if it came across very well, but
I did. It did, and I love what you said at the start of that, Gary, in terms of the passion play.
mm-hmm.
And when you do this inventory of your life journey, the passion, you'll find what jazzes you. And when you're jumping out of bed in the morning, looking forward to serving people, you know you found, and what we say is, you find your passion, you'll find your path.
Yep.
You find your passion, you'll find your path. So take inventory of what really fires you up, and that will lead to that self-discovery that you need. And Gary, we've got some great comments here. So Susie said, I use a values elicitation to discover what my clients are passionate about, and oftentimes this gives us a steer as to what their niche will be. And you can never have too many UK friends, Gary. Sent from the UK.
Thank you, Susie.
That's
Susie.
great. That's great. And she goes on to tell you, this is a really good observation. She said this is one area, the things we're talking about now, that the coaching colleges really fall down. I trained as a mentor, and in the college that I worked with, this area of niche is simply not covered in the curriculum. And we find that. So if that's a reality, and that's where all of you are, you need to figure out what we're talking about here, and Gary's list is a great place to start in terms of how you can hone in on this. And Gary, I'm going to echo what you were saying earlier in terms of, it is narrow and deep. And the key thing with all of this is becoming a thought leader. You have to figure out what you specialize in and being courageous enough. And this is where I find that so many coaches just like, oh, that's so ego forward, and I don't want to be that bold, and gosh, is that too much about me? Well, the reality is, if you're coming from this purity of intention place, it's not going to be about you. Yet you have to be forward in terms of getting yourself out there as a thought leader in order to attract the right type of client. And when you make that bold step, you'll be amazed at what happens.
All I can do is echo amen on that one. That's spot on, spot on. And again, I want to emphasize to Rhonda and everyone else, it's counterintuitive to start eliminating people, and when you become the thought leader for women over the age of 45 who are struggling with midlife crisis, who live in the certain region, who are looking, you've narrowed out 95% of the world, but if you promote yourself as that, and if that's who you are, when those people see you, they beat a path to your door. And again, if you're passionate about work, don't do it if you're not passionate about work with those people, because you're going to get a lot of people you don't want to work with. But if you're passionate about helping and supporting and coaching and working with those people, then over a period of time, you become the thought leader by posting articles and posts and blogs and speaking out saying, this is who I am, this is what I do, and here's what Mary told me last week when I helped her. She'd been looking all over the place for someone like me, and when we found each other, it was magic. And I'm so excited because I helped her, and that's how you become the thought leader, because you have people that you're helping that is in this narrow niche that very, very few people work in. And now you're speaking out with blogs and posts and articles in newspapers and articles on the internet and maybe a press release. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm passionate about. This is the 5 ways that I help them, and then you ultimately you become the thought leader.
Yeah, and it's one of these things, folks, and I love that you're just hitting it head on, Gary, with the, it is counterintuitive for people because a lot of people are coming from this place of fear, and they are fearful that if they exclude anyone, then their income's not going to be where they want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And once you decide on your niche and you become the thought leader in one thing, and that's just a start. That's not something that's, cast in concrete for the rest of your career. It's just where you are right now to serve these people. And once you do that, you will find that you build your tribe, you build your village, and again, this is counterintuitive as well, they will do the vast majority of the marketing for you.
Yeah.
Yes. In that, I mean, you don't think about that. It's like, no, they're clients of mine. What are they going to do? They're going to market? Well, they'll become evangelist for you. And they'll tell their friends that are going through similar things. And so your email list doesn't have to be 10,000 people. It could be 500 people that are super qualified, super committed to you, and they're going to be evangelizing every day of their lives about what you have done for them. And everybody's after all these huge, big numbers, and my list is this and that, and it's the quality of your list. And once you focus on things, you'll find that you'll start attracting these people that are right in your sweet spot.
Mm-hmm. And what happens then, Drayton, is you create a community of these people, and that's sort of the next level of this conversation. Just picking up, if you were to hand me the baton here, I would say, so now you have a community of followers, of people, and not everybody hires you, and not everybody recommends you, but you have this community of people that are in this conversation about, well, Rhonda's the specialist in this. And boy, when you work with her and she coaches you, boy, her passion comes out because she loves working with people in this particular group. And now you have this community of followers, of people that are your raving fans because all of your conversations are about this, as opposed to this week's conversation. Then next week's conversation is about men that are doing this, and then the following month you're working with children or adolescents that have this issue, and nobody can figure out who you are because your conversation is so broad. But when you have a community of people, as Drayton articulately points out to you, then they're 50% of your marketing because they're telling everybody in the world, oh boy, you got to contact Rhonda. She's magic when it comes to this particular group of people who have this particular need. Mm-hmm. So exciting to talk about. I'm getting fired up talking about this, Drayton.
Yeah, I get
is
fired
great.
up too. And here we're really going to mess you up now, folks, because I'm going to bring Lady Gaga into the conversation. So I think back in our day, Madonna was a great marketeer, and she did amazing things in the 80s and 90s. I just read an analysis, a marketing analysis of Lady Gaga. And certainly she's got millions of Twitter followers and Facebook fans and fans all over to go to her concerts. She and her staff only focus on the top 1% of her fan base. Nothing else gets any attention. And she calls them, I think they're the maniacs or something like that. And they have found through their research, now she's not doing this by happenstance. She's doing this in a very disciplined, research-based, factual approach. They have found that 1% that they focus on brings them like 80% of their business. And she pays personal attention to them. She goes on her blog and responds to them. They invite them to concerts and backstage passes. And they have found that they evangelize to the point where they're bringing so much revenue that it dwarfs everything else. And that's what we're talking about here. You build your 1% club, and you'll have a thriving business. And it's knowing who they are, and they were talking about all the research they put into this, knowing what they like, knowing what's important to them, knowing their points of pain that she helps with, and when she responds, That's exactly what we're talking about here. So, Gary, I never thought I'd be validated by Lady Gaga.
I didn't think you would either. I wasn't sure you knew who Lady Gaga was, so that's great. And you mentioned another name. I think in the future, I'm going to use Madonna as the easiest person to describe branding or defining a niche or going in that particular direction. You know, she just did everything that she possibly could to exploit her niche and brand herself to that niche and sell millions upon millions of recordings and videos based on the fact that she didn't try to be everything to everybody, and she didn't try to go over after a certain success, say, well, I'm going to run over and get into the rappers area or get into classical music or get into, you know, she just exploited that name and that niche and just did a marvelous job. And it's just classic how her community lifted her up, and she didn't have to do any marketing. She didn't have to sell any records. Once the word got out and the videos got out, they sold themselves. You know, people were standing in line to go to her concerts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you look at the biggest commercial successes out there, folks, and it's their 1%ers that fuel all of that. You can look at any of them, and it's the 1%ers. So, Gary, here's what I think we should do. We would like to get some information from all of you right now. So in the training center, and we've got great questions. We're going to get to as many of these as we can. Gary, what I want to hear from people is I want you to finish this following statement and post it as we're talking. We're going to read these things off. I am a thought leader in blank. And we want to push you right now to think about this. You're hearing what we're saying, and hopefully you're digesting, but I want you to take some action. So I am a thought leader in blank.
And you want them to type that in and send that in to you.
Yep. Type it in, folks. Put it on the message board. We're looking at everything now. Durwood said, you have already put me on the right track. Thanks for this crucible. You're very welcome, Durwood. We appreciate you being here. And put this down, folks. I'm a thought leader in blank. So let's see what we get. So here's one. I am a thought leader in happiness and success for women. That's from Debbie. And Debbie, what I would say there is, how can you refine that further? What group?
Narrow it down a little bit.
Yeah. What are their points of pain? Who exactly can? And I tell people, when you can visualize your ideal client, I mean to the point where you see them in your mind's eye and experience with them their points of pain, then you can hone in on it. When you know that ideal client, that personification of your ideal client, and that's it. That's where we want to be. Okay, so I'm a thought leader, and boy, we've got a lot of them coming in here.
Oh, good.
I'm a thought leader in creativity, teaching others how to become coaches.
Great.
Yeah, so again, I'm going to challenge you. This is from Luz. I'm going to challenge you to go deeper. So what group, subgroup, inside what you just said can you serve at your highest and best use? So I am a thought leader in. So I am a thought leader in helping people get in, get out, or move up in their entertainment industry career. That from Aaron. Okay, that's interesting.
Great.
So Aaron, what specific niche inside the entertainment industry? And Aaron, what I can do, let me see if I can find you on the console here. So Aaron, just if you could post just what particular niche inside the entertainment industry. So go deeper, go a little, narrow it down and go a little bit deeper. And this from Jen. I am a thought leader in buy-in transition. I mean big life changes, massive overwhelm, divorce, betrayal, grief, loss, issues, and trauma recovery. So Jen, I'm going to make a kind of a assumptive leap here and assume, given that, which is a beautiful thing, by the way, that you may have experienced some of these things yourself. And if that is the case, what have you learned from that, and who might be going through a very similar thing? Think about your demographics. Think about where you come from, what you experience. Who's going through something similar? And hone in on them.
So narrow down, Drayton, narrow down a little bit to that. And again, she could be very passionate about that and passionate about helping that subgroup as opposed to all those areas. And if she becomes passionate and narrows that down to the main area that she wants to work in, she could end up being the thought leader in that industry, in that coaching niche.
Mm-hmm. And let's take this, Gary. So the last thing you say here, Jen, is trauma recovery. So let's say that you, and again, I'm just making this as a little vignette, you may have had a significant brain injury, let's say, and you recovered and you went along this path that was a beautiful path of self-discovery through all of its challenges and the teachers that you were gifted with. And now you're in a place where there are other people going through a similar thing, and you can become the thought leader in brain injury recovery. And that's what we're talking about here. I've never heard of anybody in that space. Gary, have you?
I haven't. And then everywhere you go, everyone you talk to, that's all you talk about. Do you know anybody who's looking for? Do you know anybody who needs help in? Do you know anybody who works in this field that I can be around? And that's your whole conversation.
And then you go to the hospital. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, then people are attracted to you, and they know other. It's a friend of a friend of a friend of mine is looking for exactly that. So can I have your card to get that to them, or can I give you their phone number and have you contact them?
And the thought leader goes to the local hospital that specializes in brain trauma.
There you go.
And says, here's my journey. I want to help other people going through something and that I went through, same type of thing. I'd love to talk to some of your patients.
There you go.
And you go in and interview, and you might give a talk, to a group of patients, and that is the springboard.
You might give a talk once a week to a group of their patients that are going through there, and you might have more clients than you know what to do with.
Okay, let's get some more. I'm a thought leader in what? And we want you to be courageous. And remember, we're not asking for perfection. We're asking for that first foray.
That leap of faith.
I got the high dive visual going here, Gary, Okay, is there water in the pool or not? Yeah, so I'm a thought leader in what? So type that in, and we'll look at some of these other questions that have come through too.
While you're doing that,
Drake,
can I just briefly tell people my path, and maybe they can follow this path and see where it led me. So over 25 years ago, almost 30 years ago, I got really passionate about transformation and personal growth. And in 1989, I met Jim Selman, and he said, well, you should be a business coach. You could take what you like and coach people in business. And it resonated with me because I've always been fascinated with business. So for 10 years, I was not a thought leader, but a business coach. And then my staff and I started looking for coaches to coach me and people to teach me more, broaden it out. We couldn't find anybody, so over 15, almost 18 years ago now, I started training and certifying and working with people to become a business coach. And then 5, 8, 10 years into that process, I started writing articles. I started graduating hundreds of students. I was invited to go to Japan to train people in Japan and start a coaching school for business coaches in Japan, et cetera, et cetera. And after doing all that, I suddenly realized I was a thought leader in the business coaching industry. So it started off one direction, kind of weaved its way around, and ended up that I became a thought leader in the business coaching industry because of all of those different stages and steps that I walked through.
And Gary, that is so cool. And folks, think about the time that it took Gary to get to that place.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're telling you is you can do that now and save years of time. Right, Gary?
Amen to that, yeah.
That just kind of evolved over a long period of time because, you know, that you're at the forefront of the industry coming into this, and thought leader wasn't even a phrase.
It wasn't.
So, yeah, so you can do this now, folks, and it can completely shift your business. And Gary, we've got a lot more here.
Great.
Jen is a thought leader in coaching women who are in transition, and that's where, Jen, I would say, oh, here we go. So we talked about yours before, so we addressed that. Wesley said, I'm a thought leader in coaching executives in nonprofit programs how to teach their subordinates to define success by using one-on-one coaching relationships.
Boy, there you
Way
go.
to go, Wesley. Yeah. Yeah, so nonprofits and a specific point of pain that Wesley is addressing in nonprofits. Obi said, I am a thought leader in business growth. And so Obi, Gary, you want to jump in and give Obi some counsel here?
Read it again. A thought leader in business growth?
Obi said, I'm a thought leader in business growth.
Okay, so business growth covers so many different things. As I've taught my students for years, you take a topic like marketing, and underneath it is sales and PR and branding and sales management and advertising and promotions and everything. So again, you want to bring it down to picture this person in your mind. Who's the ideal client? Is it a male or a female? It doesn't have to be gender specific, but in your mind, is it a male or a female? Where are they in their career? What approximate age are they? And then finally, what do you bring to the table that specifically addresses the growth of their particular career? And it's probably something like sales or client attraction or locating the right client. I've had, in particular females, but it doesn't have to be female, a lot of women recently get in contact with me that want to help our students, help people find where are the people that are in your particular niche, what are they doing, and what specific things are they talking about. So there are people that get defining niches inside of niches, Drayton, that help others actually get into the conversation of what are these people looking for and what words are they using and what specific needs do they have at the very pinpoint levels. So you want to narrow that. Growth in what way? In sales, in marketing, in branding, in advertising, in promotions. It's such a broad niche that I'm sure inside of that niche that there's something that Obi is really, really passionate about that can help others specifically kickstart, get right to the heart of growing their practice, their business, whatever that is.
Yeah, that's great counsel, and I hope all of you heed that. And Gary, I'm going to give an example of something along those lines. And this lady just flashed in my head from our current mentor program where we're doing this exact thing. She is the revenue cycle specialist for hospitals and physician practices. So what she does is she goes into hospitals that have acquired physician practices, and the vast majority of the time they're not living up to the revenue expectations because of all the shift in dynamics from a sole practitioner or small partnership to a big hospital corporate thing. Mm-hmm. And she goes in and helps them make more money by billing properly and collecting, obviously.
Beautiful.
So that's her niche. And she's getting paid very, very well to do that because she charges them, let's say, $50,000. They're making $500,000 because of her. And she knows their points of pain. And so that's a tangible example of what we're talking about here.
Beautiful. Great example.
Yeah. So we've got some more here. Rhonda says, this helps a lot. We got a woo-hoo from Susie. Obi said, thank you so very much, Drayton and Gary, for this great investment in me. Gary, I have been consuming a lot of your material since I discovered them on your website. Please, is it possible to make recommendations for methodology for someone who wants to be a business coach?
How about email me, Gary@businesscoach.com. This is a non-advertising zone. I don't want to promote or push the wrong products on this call at this point, Drayton. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think, guys, we have made a commitment. This is a social endeavor for us as public service. So if you want to reach out to either one of us at any point in time, we certainly welcome that. But we keep this, and I honor what Gary said. We just keep this kind of a, no business zone. We're just here to help.
Mm-hmm. So if they want to email me, it's Gary@businesscoach.com. And if they want to email you, Drayton, how can they get a hold of you? Or do you want them to go on the Crucible? Or
yeah, just whatever works for them. They can find me at executivecoachinguniversity.com or through the Crucible when we get that link too. And so Randy said, I'm a thought leader in obtaining business and personal satisfaction. So Randy, that's where we want you to go a lot more narrow and deeper with this. So who in particular? Think of that one person that you would be so jazzed to serve, and that would bring you so much passion to see them get to that next place, that to-be state, we call it. So think about that. So take these broad things, take inventory of your journey, and then think what you can bring forward to help people going through similar things that you went through.
And Drayton, if I could say it differently, I want to put a different set of words around it. If you have a niche, and you have this big, broad niche, and you're going to narrow it down, and Drayton and Gary are coaching you now, and pare it down, bring it down, and you're picturing the person that's the perfect person. Picture it this way, and this happens to me all the time, Drayton. I'm pretty sure it happens to you at some level as well. When the phone rings and somebody in my office says, so-and-so's on the line, and I say, well, I don't know that name. What do they want? Well, they're a person that's looking for a person that will train them in a particular kind of business coaching methodology that they can make X amount of dollars, and they want to get it done by this time, and blah, blah. And I can't get to the phone fast enough, Drayton. I trip over my chair and stub my toe to answer the phone, because that's I don't want to talk to everybody. I don't have time to talk to everybody, and I'm willing to talk to everybody who's willing to talk to me, but who I really like talking to are those people that fit into our niche that I'm so excited to help. And it's not about the money. It's not about selling anybody anything. It's about getting on the phone and with like-minded people that are really looking for me. And I suppose even at some level it even soothes my ego to know that. But people that I know that I can help because I've helped thousands of other people in that category. So when they get on the phone, so picture that person. If they phoned you, you would melt to get your hands on that phone and have a conversation with them, because that's your ideal, perfect person. Right down to the tip.
And what goes hand in glove with what Gary just said is your ability to say no.
Yes,
no,
perfect. I'm glad we got to that
good
point.
Fit.
Great. Yes, that's so important.
Yeah, and Gary, isn't that one of the hardest things for folks when they see a client right in front of them? The client's got their checkbook out, their hands limbered up, and they're ready to write a check, and you say no. When you get to that point, you're going to be blown away with what happens with your business, because if you have that much discipline and you know who your ideal client is and you're focusing on them solely, and someone outside of that comes to you and says, I want to engage you, you look at them and say, this is my niche. I know a person that could serve you better than I could. And you refer them to one of your colleagues.
Yep. No, and oh, by the way, I do know somebody who works exactly in that niche. Let me give you their information. And if it's somebody that you would recommend, say tell them that you'd recommend that person wholeheartedly because you know them, you know that you've worked with them, or I'm going to refer, I know somebody who does that. I've never worked with them. I'm not endorsing them, but they claim to work exactly in the niche that you're asking for. I don't, but they do. Why don't you call them and do your research and your due diligence and see if they're the right person for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it works.
And that brings up, yeah, oh gosh,
yeah.
And folks, yeah, Gary and I could show you some battle scars from not doing some of these things over the years.
Absolutely,
so please,
absolutely.
Please heed it.
And Drayton, this is exactly how you and I met.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, first I viewed you as sort of a competitor, and I thought, oh wow, I want to know this guy. What's the deal here? And we started reaching out to each other, and we were introduced by a couple of different people. And as time grew on, and I started speaking to you on the phone years ago, I started thinking, wow, I can learn a lot from this guy. He's really a sharp guy, and he's not even a competitor of mine. And then when the conversations went forward, over a period of months, I remember one day you even saying to me, this is amazing to me, we both have similar philosophies, but we're not even, maybe the overlap of competition is 5%, we're not even competitors with each other. Let's hang out together. This is great, you know?
Exactly, exactly. And I think that sets hopefully a good example for people that, you know, this business is not a zero-sum game. You know, if Gary got you know, the X number of students, it didn't take away from what we're doing, and we're here to help each other. And that's why we talk so much about the, you know, having our tribe, our village of people in this space that we're helping. That's the reason Gary and I do this Crucible, is to help our industry to thrive. And Gary, we got a great question about being a thought leader. How would you define a thought leader? Do you think being involved in research is important, or is it enough to synthesize information and present in ways that are actionable and easily understandable?
Great question.
You want to jump on that one first?
Great question. First of all, I want to say that when I had this question years ago, and one of my clients who is an industry icon in his particular industry, said, Coach Gary, I think you're actually a thought leader in the business coaching industry. I went and bought a book. There's actually a couple of books that were written on the topic. I'm not going to say if they're good or bad, but they certainly helped me narrow down the definition because it was a little fuzzy for me. And I was actually going to be interviewing somebody weeks ahead that claimed he was a thought leader in a particular area of business. And so I thought I better know about this. So I read up on it. But I think, first of all, a thought leader is somebody who has narrowed his niche or his market down to a particular area mostly. That's one criteria. Another criteria is somebody who's very bold and willing to stand out and say, I'm the thought leader or one of the thought leaders in our industry. Another one is that you are fixed, you're committed, you're passionate, you are all about this particular area that you're speaking about. So I wouldn't say that you're necessarily that the first week that you're in business, but over a period of months and in some cases years, you become one of the authorities or one of the thought leaders inside of that industry. And it takes some boldness, Drayton, to say and do that. It's not for everybody.
Yeah, and it does take some courage. In fact, it takes a lot of courage. Now,
yes.
Here's something, Gary, I'm going to be provocative here with folks. I'm going to really just distill this down to one thing, and that is you are a thought leader if you know one more thing than your tribe.
There you go.
Just one more thing. They can learn from you. And then when you teach them that one thing, you learn another thing, and you stay 1, 2, 3 steps ahead. It's not as if you have to go get your PhD in thought leadership. There's no such thing, and it doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. You just have to know that you're here. First of all, it's not about your ego. You're here to be of service. And
yes.
if you follow that, you follow your heart, everything's cool. Everything will work. Yeah, sorry, Gary, getting a little feedback.
It shouldn't be for me. I just turned my volume down just in case. But
yeah, so questions, folks. Just any other questions?
or comments if people would like to add to the dialogue. If they've heard something that they agree with or don't disagree with. We're not here to find people that agree with Drayton and I. We want to get feedback, and certainly some of you who are thought leaders might be very opinionated and want to give us your feedback as to what you're hearing and what you're getting.
But
Hi,
Gary,
this is Barbara Wainwright, and I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to jump in if that's okay.
It is. It is. Perfect.
All
Jump
right.
in, Barb.
Yes, I've been listening to the conversation since the beginning. It's excellent advice that you've both been handing out, and I think that having a passion and discovering what your passion is, as was mentioned before in one of the previous questions, is just something that's so important. Being able to live a life of passion is something that you just don't want to let go of. Catch onto that and don't let it go. It's the most important thing, I believe, that we can do, is to bring through us what we are most passionate about. And that goes for thought leaders as well as coaches, and in my opinion. So I want to say thank you for bringing those 2 points up, and also thank you for the opportunity to say hello.
Well, great. Thank you to Barb as well. Hopefully we didn't cut Drayton off in the process. Drayton, are you on mute, or did you go away?
Very interesting. So let's take a moment and just say I really appreciate your 9 points, Gary. I thought they were outstanding as well. And having an accountability partner that you mentioned several times, I believe is extremely important. If without that accountability person, things can just kind of get pushed away, further and further down the priority list. It's really easy to let quote-unquote life get in the way of our goals and our achievements. And if you have somebody there is holding you accountable as a coach, it's really, really important, I believe. And in fact, that's the definition of what we do as coaches, is hold people accountable to living a life of their dreams. And so as coaches, it's almost a funny situation not to have our own coach.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up, Barb. And I think I use the word accountability partner as opposed to coach, because I was noticing that when I laid that out, there's times when people are getting in the coaching industry and they're getting started. They don't even have clients, and they need to have some form of accountability. And I wanted to make sure that I had that in place. And I firmly believe everybody who is actually coaching clients should have a coach, but at least have an accountability partner to keep you on path before you get off path, and before you give up 1 day, 1 week, 1 month before you get your first, second, third client. So people can use an accountability partner. And in the absence of Drayton, I'm going to say,
I'm back, Gary.
Oh, good. Well, with Drayton here, I'm going to say, Barbara, why don't you just introduce who you are and what you do, so that people can get a little bit of a history of 30 seconds of who is Barbara Wainwright.
Oh, thank you. My name is Barbara Wainwright. I am the CEO and founder of Wainwright Global, Inc., an institute of professional coaching. I train and certify life coaches. So if you're looking for that, that's something that I've been doing since 2006. It's been an honor and a privilege to have trained over 5,000 coaches and all over the world, and delighted to be here on the show with you and Drayton, Gary.
Thank you. Thanks for introducing yourself.
Yeah.
Drayton, I think you went away. I'm not sure, you were muted or something. Do you want to close us out, or go to closing comments?
We're right at the top of the hour. So what I would recommend for everyone that's been here, and we have had the biggest turnout we've had so far, which, yay,
yes.
Thank you guys for spreading the word about all this. We greatly appreciate it. And we want you to take, if you can park 10, 15 minutes now and go quiet, turn off all distractions, and do that inventory of your life's journey, and think about what you, finishing that sentence, I'm a thought leader in, and we've got some great comments, and our apologies for not being able to get to everyone. But great, we really appreciate everybody stepping up and giving a lot of contributions today. But spend some time on this. What we find that people get so busy and they're busy in their business versus looking at it from 30,000 feet. So right now, the most important thing you can figure out is I'm a thought leader in what? And devote the time to that, and it'll come back in spades for you, I guarantee it. So Gary, as always, thank you. This has been a lot of fun. This hour goes by in a heartbeat, and we're going to send the recording to everyone. And on that page, you'll find that you can post comments, etc., and we'll be over there to answer any questions that you have.
Great.
So
and
Gary, thank you.
Don't forget to invite others. This is an industry-wide Coaching Crucible, so we want to get more people and more feedback and more. So invite your friends, anybody in your community, to join us. We're here every month, the same Tuesday, same time every month, and we want to get more participation and more people throughout the industry to jump in and get their feedback. And Drayton and I are willing to learn and grow right along with the rest of you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So thank you for your time. And we look forward to being of service over on the Crucible page. So take care, everyone.